ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। सर्वशास्त्राब्धिपीयूषा सर्ववेदैकसत्फला सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नाढ्या सर्वलोकैकदृक्प्रदा सर्वभागवता प्राणा श्रीमद्भागवता प्रभो कलिद्वन्द्वोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानन्दपाताय प्रेमावशक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तु ते। मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गी मद्गुरु मन्महादना मन्निष्ठारकमद्भाग्य मदानन्दा नमोऽस्तु ते। साधु साधुतादायिन् अतिनीचोच्चताकरा हानामुञ्च कदाचिन्म प्रेमा हृत्कण्ठयो स्फुरा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So, the introduction to day 2 of this seminar on building faith. Yesterday, we focused upon the doubts that take over our mind, our heart, and we saw how Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukadeva Goswami about his doubts, his questions, and we also touched upon the very important principle, how in love or fear, keep the Lord near, just as a sutra for us to remember this, because whether we are willingly in this mood of surrender, in the mood of desiring clean purity is already in our heart and we are desiring to serve Krishna, or we are attacked and surrounded by anarthas such as fear and shame and guilt, regardless of the emotions, if we could put Krishna in the center, if we can use fear to come closer to Krishna, if we can use anger to come closer to Krishna, if we can use frustration to come near to Krishna, if we can use shame to come near to Krishna. So we studied about Shishupal and how he and Dantavakra were obsessed with Krishna, even though in hatred, and they actually merged into the body of Krishna. Whereas there are other demons like Vena, they were just bad, but they were not focused on Krishna. So it's better to focus our emotions on Krishna, because the evilness or the wickedness or the anarthas are everywhere. All right. And then we also touched upon the role of doubt in our life, how doubts can overtake our spiritual advancement, and how there is good and bad ways of dealing with doubt. So today we'll touch upon the good and the bad ways, or the right and the wrong way to deal with doubts. Yesterday also, there was a question by our students. Aishwarya asked a question, Ashka asked a question, and Preeti asked a question. And they were all interconnected. And the question was about desires. Well, how do we deal with our desires? What do we do with our desires when we want to cultivate faith, but desires get in the way? And also, what to do with our unfulfilled desires? How do we deal with our unfulfilled desires? And then how does prayer help, and does it really help? That was another important question that was brought up, and I was very, it was a very deep question. I really liked those points, and I've been like pondering about it. So this presentation here today, doubts dealt wrongly versus doubts dealt rightly. So doubts dealt wrongly. And we have examples of Duryodhan, Karna, Hiranyakashipu. They were doubtful about many things, and they were unable to accept. As you can see here, this is an image of Karna. No acceptance of his. I mean, birth-wise, he was a Kshatriya, although he was raised as a Shudra, and therefore he couldn't accept that, and therefore he constantly kept fighting for it. So the purpose of today's narrative would be, yes, we have some unfulfilled desires. Things are not coming our way the way we want it. And today we will see the interplay. The highlight of today would be the interplay between dharma, righteousness, and adharma, unrighteousness. And why do we end up doing things that is not right? And for that, we'll look a little bit closer into Karna and Duryodhana's tragic resistance to reality, resistance to karma, resistance to accepting fate and destiny. So Karna, as we can see, Karna's character is known as he's a famous, he has a famous title, tragic hero of Mahabharata. So Karna being the tragic hero of Mahabharata, we can learn a lot because he struggled so much. No, Duryodhana also struggled, but Karna really struggled because there was this dichotomy, there was this pulling, there was this polarity between dharma and adharma in him. He had dharma in his heart, but then he was siding with adharma because he was siding with Duryodhana. So the ambition of Duryodhana was really the king and the boss for Karna. So sometimes our loyalty is misplaced. My God, I've been thinking about this. Sometimes there are people in our lives that suck our energy, they drain our energies, they're not good association for us. Still, because of that dharmic element in our heart, the principle in our heart that no, I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good, whatever it is, in whatever relationship it can play out, then we may get mixed up between dharma and adharma, and then our life also can become very tragic. Okay, I hope not, but so Karna really struggled with that identity of being illegitimate child of Kunti, and he didn't even know, and so he had this kshatriyaness, but he wasn't accepted. So we will also go through again and again and again in our lives. We will have desires that are unmet, unfulfilled ambitions. We will fight for recognition, for honor, for respect. And yesterday also, Pankaj Radha was asking this wonderful question, right? She was asking about how, like, the people come around me, but I still feel that my own, I want to enjoy Krishna and service by myself. There is a tinge of that me in the center. So how to balance the two? I want good people around me. I want to be in a dharmic situation, but I'm constantly attacked by these anarthas of honor and recognition. And allying with Duryodhan, Karna's struggles kept increasing, kept increasing. So that's why, my dear friends, it's very important what kind of friends we have, who we associate with. Duryodhana on one hand is like he was more leaning towards adharma. Okay, let me put on the next slide. So this slide here, it shows Karna's not accepting his situation, his upbringing, and Duryodhana also had this denial. Okay, he was in denial of the fact that he is not the oldest son in the dynasty. And at the end of this, when we stop the recording, I'm going to show you this video of Mahabharata where we can actually see the interplay of those emotions there. So here, we are looking at Duryodhana's resistance and Karna's resistance to accepting their fate, to accepting our destiny. And it's relevant for us. How am I dealing with disappointments in my life? How am I dealing with when people don't come around the way I want? And today we'll be looking at Hiranyakashipu as well. So what happens in case of Duryodhana and Karna, just as a conclusion summary here, is that the tragic resistance of Karna and Duryodhana, they ended up dead without gaining anything. Okay, so something for us to look inside and see, are we resisting reality? Now we are going to, sometimes we're alone when we're hoping, I had my family along with me to come with me and do my service. And then Krishna really purifies us and we become qualified. And then the family starts coming along with us. And then we start getting annoyed by the same family. that's coming with us. So are we resisting the lesson that is in front of us today? So maybe today my lesson is to, like when I started the class, nobody was on time, and I was starting the class. Okay. And then slowly you started joining in. So sometimes in the beginning, we have resistance to why the people are not in time, why people are not there. So there may be a resistance. But if I keep going on about it, then there may be the next lesson. Lessons never end, by the way. So the next lessons will come. How do I deal with the questions? How do I deal with what's on our mind? And so on and so forth. So the second chapter, oh my God, the second chapter of seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is the struggle of Hiranyakashipu. Like we saw, Karna, he was stuck with this birth circumstances. Karna was like the tragic loyal friend, but the loyalty was misplaced. And the moral reflection for us is the futility of resisting fate and destiny. Show up to whatever life is providing for us. I'm sorry, I'm kind of blocking the way with what is written there. Just written Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 2nd. And this is the subtitle is the Hiranyakashipu's rage and rise of adharma. So Hiranyakashipu's resistance to his doubts. Oh my God, why did Vishnu do this? Why did he kill my brother? Now, all his doubts and the connection with Karna's also. Karna's is like, why is the injustice? And the detachment and the resilience of divine qualities was not present, nor in Karna, nor in Duryodhana, nor in Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyakashipu's revenge, okay, he was revengeful. And sometimes we become revengeful. Why did he say that way? Why did she do this? So we constantly think about it. So the description given in the second chapter here is that Hiranyakashipu's rage, it brought him so much determination. He became so determined to avenge his brother's death. And so for us, what is the lesson? So for us, the lesson is, see, even at one point, by the way, Hiranyakashipu becomes even preachy, he becomes so preachy that when Hiranyakashipu's Hiranyaksha, the brothers' wives and the family are lamenting, then he actually starts speaking about detachment. He says how we're not this material body. Why are you lamenting for the dead body? So he starts to analyze very nicely philosophically. So I was thinking how sometimes I also philosophize. I do something that is not right, and then I justify saying, no, I know the right thing. So here, Hiranyakashipu is standing here, consoling all the relatives. And it's like, wow, he's very philosophical. He's very right about the attachment to the material body. And then he quotes the Yamaraj story where Yamaraj comes and tells the family of the dead that, why are you lamenting? Why are you crying? You have taken so many births. You have had so many sons and daughters and mother and father. Why are you lamenting? Then at the same time, on the other hand, like I would do, I don't know. So how many of you have this the pull, the polarity between dharma and adharma? Sometimes I know on one side I'm completely right, on the other side I'm justifying for something that I'm doing wrong. So Hiranyakashipu here is like, he's undermining the principles of truth and kindness and Krishna consciousness, and he's harming the Brahmanas in this whole second chapter. Oh my God, if you look at the atrocities Hiranyakashipu performs, yet he thinks he's right. He's thinking that this is attacking Brahmanas, attacking Yagyas, attacking virtuous living beings. He's saying it's a righteousness there, because Vishnu is partial. Yesterday also we discussed, is Krishna partial or not? Parikshit asked, right? So today here Hiranyakashipu is like, he's partial, and therefore I'll do a world a favor. Sometimes I also tend to think like that. By being harsh with this person, I'm teaching a lesson, I'm doing good to the world. Some justification like that. So there's a contrast between divine and demoniac. So the lesson we can learn, one of the lessons we can learn is that misplaced anger, it can result in wrong identification. So if I'm angry with somebody, thinking them as the enemy because they're not abiding by my, I should actually be on the other side here so you can see the text. Misplaced anger as a result of identifying with the body. So the point is, if I see somebody as an enemy because they did something that I don't like, And then I how do you say, nurture that anger. I justify doing wrong thoughts, wrong words, not accepting reality, not accepting life as it's coming. Then Hiranyakashipu's, what happened in his case? Arrogance, unchecked ambition took over. Whereas Prahlad Maharaj on the other side, he wasn't triggered. He wasn't agitated. He wasn't affected by the trauma caused by Hiranyakashipu. Why? Because Prahlad didn't see Hiranyakashipu as an enemy. Wow, if we can learn that, if we can stop seeing people as enemies or friends, or if we can stop seeing, why is this person disturbing my peace? And we actually see, what does Krishna want me to do in this situation? So removing myself from the center and putting Krishna. And so that's the next point here. The principle here is the struggle between dharma and adharma can only be resolved if we can balance our divine and demoniac qualities. We have the good and the bad dog in us. There is the comparison even in Bhagavad Gita. We see chapter 16, Krishna is speaking about the divine and the demoniac qualities. And Krishna, he appears again and again, yada yada hi dharmasya. He comes again and again to help us, to remind us that there will be victory. There will be victory to justice, and there will be protection of devotees. It's inevitable. Okay, so it's an exercise. Let's look inside ourselves, these qualities, divine and the demoniac qualities. How much of our internal world is dominated by divine qualities, and how much of our internal world is dominated by demoniac qualities? What are the triggers? What triggers me? Somebody saying some particular thing triggers me. Somebody not being peaceful triggers me. Somebody not being truthful triggers me. What triggers me? So I may be triggered by something which I may say it's righteous. Let's say my neighbor becoming angry with me. I may say, oh my God, that's a trigger. Why this person is becoming angry? Why can't they be calm and peaceful? But then if I take a mirror and look at myself and say, oh, wait a minute, the trigger has something to do with my world, my internal world. So to introspect in this way, to see, okay, the circumstances are happening. Krishna must have a reason behind this, why Karna was not given all the upbringing that the other prince people got it, Kunti's other children got. Of course, Kunti's other children, Pandavas, also went through a lot of difficulties, but Karna was much more lonely. So his sense of justice and his sense of loyalty was confused. It was misplaced. So that happens with us if we associate with wrong people. We get confused with loyalty. We try to be loyal to somebody who doesn't deserve loyalty, and then we mix it up. Okay, so let me see which other points I wanted to make. Yeah, I added the devotees who asked the question yesterday here. No, I don't see them here. So anyway, I had some answers for them, but maybe on the next session we can address it about the desires and everything, and the prayers and how to deal with unfulfilled desires. Yeah, I think Pankaj, I don't know if you're getting the principles here about, yes, we may like something at one point and we may not get that thing. And then later on, we may get the same thing we wanted. And then it's another lesson. So it's evolving. Krishna is always giving us opportunities. So, but there's an inevitability of justice and protection to the devotees, meaning Krishna always protects the divine qualities in me. He's always giving me opportunities to, he sees, oh, I wanted you to keep driving to the temple alone week after week after week after week. I wanted to test your determination. And once you establish yourself in it, ta-da, the next lesson comes up. It's a completely different lesson. So Krishna is always like, he's happy with everything that you're doing, but he also wants you to grow. He wants you to be better than yesterday. So it's not about others. It's something between you and Krishna, something between you and Kalachandji. So it is not, it's not a public display of the lessons. It's actually a private lesson to test if you're ready for the next level. We want our kids to keep growing up. We want them to keep going from next grade. We don't want them to remain in the same grade. We don't want them to be stuck in our house forever. It's hard to see them go to the university and fly off the nest. We want that. So Krishna also wants that for us. Yes, you've been enjoying this particular service in a specific way. Now it's time for you to grow up, baby. Grow up. All right. So let's take a moment here and do a reflection. Okay. How can we, how can I ensure that dharma thrives in our lives? How? What are the practical steps that I can take? And what can we learn from Hiranyakashipu's behavior in this case? He was being abusive to the Brahmanas, to Prahlad, to everybody who was against him because he was so fixated upon enemies and friends. And some clues here to do this exercise. You can either write it or you can talk. If you like, I can put you in a group or something, or you can just express it, whatever it is. But take a minute or two of reflection, because these are the three principles here. Material desires bind us to samsara. It'll never end. It's a black hole. Today I have this material desire. I buy this dress. It's not going to end. Tomorrow I will want another thing. Okay, second point here is these are like helping you to ensure how you can practically do something. Second is enmity blinds us to truth. So take a look. Am I being harsh with somebody? Am I looking at somebody as my enemy? What if I change that perspective? What if I turn on that switch of neutrality? What if I turn on the switch that what is Krishna's plan for me here? What is Krishna's lesson for me here? So what if I kept that away? Right? Well, so these are like some pointers. And then the third is surrender to Krishna is the ultimate protection. It's not about changing our external circumstances, because Hiranyakashipu was trying to change his external circumstances. He wanted to change Prahlad's mind in how Prahlad was not accepting his superiority. Okay, so I'll pause here. Let's take a couple of minutes. You can also let me say there's some questions in the chat box as well. Let's see if you have any other questions. And also, you might want to think about material and spiritual dharma and how you can balance it, and also material and spiritual protection. Okay, so the next part of the class is going to be about this. So do your reflection, do your questions, and then I'm going to take a look at your questions in the chat box. Absolutely. Mm.
Krishna, in some form. So whether we associate with devotees or we associate with colleagues or we associate with our family, when this trigger is coming, where is it exactly coming from? It's coming from Krishna, and sometimes that helps me. So that's my sharing.
Yeah, wow. Thank you, Rukmini Premataji. Very powerful points, very important questions. Actually, Rukmini Pra is already answering question that Rajashri is asking in the chat box. We have to be intelligent. We have to use our common sense to see, understand the enemy, understand the trouble. Where is it coming from? No, who is behind it? I like that. I like that. Who is behind it? Is it the problem of the other person? Is it that their anartha is causing this? Is it, and who is this person is very important as well. In Mahabharata also, Dronacharya tells Duryodhan and other Pandavas, you have to understand the enemy. You have to understand the strength of the enemy. So you have to weigh the, oh, this is me, this is them. How powerful is the enemy? Prahlad Maharaj did that. So yeah, that kind of gets us into the answer of the question, but we'll wait for Prahlad Maharaj. But I'd like to see any other suggestion, any other advice you gave yourself that you'd like to share with us so you can benefit everybody here. Any practical things that especially, when we are triggered, especially when we have people around us that are trying to harm us. How would we ensure that Dharma thrives? Yes, Prema Rupa Madhavi, I've been waiting for you.
Sorry. Something I practically do is I ask for forgiveness. I say, sorry, Ni, that I'm in this position, that I must have done something early on which I don't remember anymore. And rather than blaming my situation, blaming people around me, try to find fault at that. I just ask for forgiveness, and if he can, he's Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? He can sort anything and everything. So when I ask for that forgiveness, like I acknowledge what's happening, that feeling, whatever it is, then I ask for forgiveness. Like I feel bad, I'm feeling like this. What can I do? Can you help me? And just that prayer, and I feel that's a prayer. Just that prayer sometimes helps sort that magically. You'll realize if someday, oh my God, that whatever has happened or is happening is still valid. It's still happening or has happened, but you don't feel anything about it anymore. And like, I wonder why. And then this is the answer. You prayed to him and he helped you.
Wow. I never thought of that. That is so deep, and it's such a deep introspective level. That's the level of great devotees, right? That's the great devotees mood. So asking forgiveness because understanding that nothing happens by chance. I must be going through this for a reason, and asking the Supreme Lord who is able to fix everything. I love that point. And I like the word you used, magically. It's true. And we can actually become so introspective, so deeply connected to the divine and aligned to divine's will consciously, then magical things happen. The prarabdha karma starts melting. Very good point. Thank you, Prema Rupa Madhavi. Anybody else likes to share any other practical advice? How do we deal in circumstances like this? When our plans are thwarted and we don't get our way. Because, Hiranyakashipu nor Prahlad were getting their way. Prahlad wanted everything peaceful and everything to be Krishna conscious centered. He wanted everything to be centered on God. That's what he wanted. He wasn't getting his way. And Hiranyakashipu was also not getting his way. He wanted to be glorified as God. And his own 5-year-old son was against his desire, against his philosophy of I am God, I am supreme. Because he was in denial of reality. He was afraid to die. He tried to kill Prahlad in so many ways. So many ways he tried to kill his own son. Okay, if and nobody else has any other comment, I will share what I have here. So, like Rukmini Prem Mataji already said, like, who is it? What is it? Understanding it. Who, what, how, why, when, where. Then, I mean, on the external level, right? Internal level, what Prema Rupa Madhavi said, go deep and see Krishna. I must have done something, and therefore I'm going through this. Please forgive me. And then once we learn the lesson, the problem goes away. Then another thing I was thinking was, in some cases, some enemies, we can move away. We can just go away from that place. If those triggers are not building my character, if those triggers are not helping me, if it's not constructive way of a some competition is good. Some kind of an enemy there, who's always watching you. Are you going to Mangalarti today? Did you do this today? It's a good thing sometimes. It keeps us on our toes. At the same time, in some cases, they're very detrimental. So we can either move away or find strategies to keep them at bay. Different things. You could get yagyas done. You could get protection from brahmanas. You can chant your own Nrsinga Kavacha prayers. You can do Narayana Kavacha. You can do so many prayers that can keep you protected. And then another thing I was also thinking, like Prema Rupa Madhavi said about praying and asking forgiveness, I was thinking prayer and forgiveness on the other side as well. meaning praying for the other person, praying for the enemy, praying for the person who's not able to be ideal in this circumstance, and asking forgiveness on their behalf, like Jesus Christ did or Prahlad did. Prahlad never saw Hiranyakashipu as an enemy. He always saw him as probably saw him as a sick person. He just saw him as, oh, he doesn't understand reality. So, yeah, that. And then it opens up about what Prahlad did and how, how he handled the situation. What happens is, initially, when Prahlad comes home and Hiranyakashipu asks, what did you learn today? Then he starts talking about Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. And Hiranyakashipu goes like, what? Come again? No, don't come again. What are you talking about? Then he gets really mad with Chanda and Amarka. What are you teaching my son? And then there's a lot of chaos, a lot of trauma. But Prahlad Maharaj doesn't get traumatized. So the question comes, as I've been thinking about this so much since we're studying this chapter. Prahlad Maharaj doesn't get traumatized, whereas I would have definitely got traumatized. I was thinking, does it mean that I'm not a devotee? Does it mean that anybody who goes through tortures, anybody who gets hurt, killed, beaten up, doesn't mean they're not devotee enough? What do you think? Prahlad was thrown from the mountain and nothing happened to him. ಬೆಟ್ಟದಿಂದ ಕಟ್ಟಿ ಉರುಳಿಸಿ ಅಸುರ ತನ್ನ ಪಟ್ಟದಾನೆ ಕಲಲಿ ಮೆಟ್ಟಿಸಿ. He made the big elephant go and try to trample Prahlad. He gave poison. He put him in a room full of snakes. Right? He did all kinds of very cruel things. Nothing happened to Prahlad. And then why do I get triggered? Why do I get traumatized? Then, yeah, I started thinking. And then I came up with so many names from the Shastra where these devotees did get traumatized. Draupadi did get traumatized with that whole episode of Chirharan, the disrobing of the Draupadi. And then Kunti was traumatized with the whole Karna incident of abandoning Karna and then the whole thing. Bhishma was traumatized. So we can go on and on. So many. Of course, Dhruva Maharaj is a little bit different because Dhruva Maharaj was traumatized before he became a devotee. After he became a devotee, it's a different story. So I'm talking about once our devotion is there. Oh, Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was beaten in 24 marketplaces. There were bruises on his skin. He was hurt physically. And then singing also of Mirabai. Of course, you can take it in a mystical story as well. She was poisoned, right? She was poisoned and killed. So, no, we cannot say that devotees don't get traumatized. That philosophy would be wrong if we say, hey, if you're a great devotee, you will not be hurt. You will not have any injury. You will not be hurt emotionally or physically. No, that's not the statement. It's not like that. We can get traumatized. We can. So, yeah, that brings to us to the last section of today's topic. Prahlad, he saw, like when he said Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Hiranyakashipu was pulling his hair and like, what nonsense are you talking about? And then right after that, he asks more and they're pushing and pushing and pushing Prahlad. Who taught you this? Who taught you this? Who taught you this? The teachers are pushing. Hiranyakashipu is pushing. And Prahlad is very diplomatic. Kshatriya boy he is. He doesn't reveal that it's Narada Muni. He doesn't reveal. And then I've been thinking why he didn't reveal. See, these are all lessons for us, how we deal with people in our lives. Somebody might be asking us all kinds of questions, no? Pushing us, pressing our buttons, as they say. So those things trigger us. Those things trigger. And then, like Rukmini Premataji was saying, who is behind it? Why is it coming, right? So Prahlad, very wise, very common sense he was using. He understood, and then he goes on to tell Hiranyakashipu more shlokas. He says, which was that verse? 30, right? Number 30, 5th chapter, number 30, he starts to say, Gatim hi Vishnu. Oh yeah, this one. He goes, Tatsadu manye suravarya dehinam sada samudvigna dhiyama sadgrahat hitvatma patam grahamanda kupam vanam gato yaddarimashrayeta. So then he starts preaching to Hiranyakashipu. Very interesting, huh? If you observe psychologically how Prahlad is viewing Hiranyakashipu, he understood this guy is not going to get it. This guy, this Hiranyakashipu here, he's deceased. He's a narcissist. This narcissist will never understand realities. I don't need to be 100% sincere with him and reveal Narada Muni's name, because if I reveal Narada Muni's name, he will harm Narada Muni and his atrocities will continue. Why? He is bewildered with arrogance and pride. So, and he's openly telling Hiranyakashipu, you will never understand it. You will never understand it. And he's not wasting his time. So when we find people in our lives that don't understand us, don't understand reality or circumstances, etc., we don't waste our time. We follow in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, not just in the sense that, oh, we just tolerate and think that, oh, I'm not a devotee because I'm getting traumatized. No, we use our common sense and see how Prahlad used certain strategies. Even with Shanda and Amarka, he doesn't reveal. He doesn't reveal it's Narada. But with the school kids who are innocent, his friends, he reveals. My teacher, my spiritual master, Narada Muni said this. He reveals, so we need to discriminate. We need to discriminate between who understands and who doesn't understand. Internally, we shouldn't see them as enemies. But if we do know somebody is trying to harm us and they have a lower attitude, Bhagavatam says, Gunadamat Anukroshan. If somebody is less qualified than us and their qualification is not favorable for us, then we look at that circumstance and we distance. We are clever. We don't reveal us in 100%. Since we do, I like this quote. I mean, it's a quote I made up, but it's my quote. So it's something like, don't attempt to be sincere with somebody who is terminally insincere. So if I recognize that somebody is insincere, then I don't need to put efforts with that person to try to be sincere, in the sense I don't have to be 100% honest, reveal all my plans, reveal all my intentions with that person. Like Prahlad, he didn't. Very interesting, huh? Hitvatma patam grihamanda kopam vanam gatoyo dharimashriyat. He's telling Hiranyakashipu only, give up all these things, give up attachment to your things, go to the forest, go to Vrindavan. Why are you being attached to these things? Is full of anxiety. This material life is full of anxiety. Why are you suffering in anxiety? Come on, dad. He doesn't even say dad, actually. He says, oh, king of demons. So sometimes we need to distance, whether it's our father, it's our mother, it's our husband, our neighbor, our senior devotee. Sometimes they may have certain gunadamat. Gunadamat means some qualification, some quality which is lower. So in nature, so we have to discriminate. We have to, anukroshan means we have to be compassionate. We have to pray and say, Krishna, they are doing this. They don't know what they're doing. Prahlad was like that. He doesn't know what you're doing. He doesn't know. But of course, he started to offend, insult Hiranyakashipu in many ways also. Prahlad also did that. So he understood that Hiranyakashipu was seeing him as an enemy. Although he didn't see Hiranyakashipu as an enemy, he still condemned that way of dealing. And then, what I wanted to say was, this is a very fascinating, mind-blowing psychological thing. Let me stop the share here. Actually, not stop the share. I'm supposed to show you the image. After Hiranyakashipu relentlessly tortured Prahlad, and Prahlad was Prahlad was affected, I can say. Oh, it's showing like this. It's okay. Prahlad, after being harassed by Hiranyakashipu, he still, after everything, he tried to kill him, he tried to do all kinds of things and abused him. He went to the boys in the school and then he started preaching. Oh my God, how do we understand that? Why would he do that? Wasn't he like, why would he do that? Do you think that Prahlad was not scared of Hiranyakashipu anymore? Is it that he's just rebelling because he has material desires? Is it like Prahlad is trying to, why is Prahlad going on? Yeah, so we have a chat response here. Because Krishna, he sees everything in Krishna and Krishna in everything. Yeah, but like psychologically, I'm asking if somebody in our home, husband or a father or somebody restricts us, don't go to kirtans in the night. Don't go to kirtans in the night. No, like if they threaten us, the natural psychological thing is to feel, oh my God, they will be very unhappy if I go to the kirtan. And they may threaten and say, if you go to kirtan, I will not, whatever it is, I will not allow you to go to Bhagavatam class or whatever. If they threaten in that way, would I be able to do it or not? Yes, going to kirtan is a good thing. But what if there is a restriction upon me? And what if that restriction goes beyond saying, imagine that somebody in my house says, if you go to, I used to have those circumstances before I got married. My mom would constantly threaten me. If you go to the devotees programs, then we will not pay you for your tuition fees. We will not pay you for your clothes. You will have to manage with the same. I remember for almost a year, I didn't get new clothes because my mom was upset that I would take the bus and go to Hosur for devotee programs for Janmashtami or other programs. My mom was so upset, and there would be consequences. So now the question is, Prahlad, okay, he wasn't traumatized or whatever, but why is he trying to agitate Hiranyakashipu? Why is he doing it? No, why does he continue? Why does he go and talk to the boys and try to, not communicate? I mean, Hiranyakashipu says, you're a disease in our family, you're contaminated. So why would he, if he's seeing him as a disease, why would Prahlad go and give the disease to the other kids, knowing that the Hiranyakashipu, the king of demons, is upset? Okay, Kritika says, he couldn't resist. The determination and faith in Lord was tempted within the heart. Very good point. Very good point. Any other reason you can think of? Why would you think? If you were to do something like that, why would it be? I'll give you a clue, okay? It has something to do with the point about trauma. It has something to do with trauma response. It has something to do with two ways of how trauma can go. Oh, Ashka is here. Ashka, I started the talk with your question actually today. So we'll get to that maybe in the end.
Yes, sorry, I was very late.
No problem. I addressed it halfway, then I was waiting if you will join to complete it. Okay, so now I'll give you the answer, okay? Because we don't have all time to wait. So sometimes when we've had it enough, we say, what the heck, you know? What is the worst that'll happen? Hiranyakashipu is trying all kinds of things on me. He hates me anyway. What do I have got to lose? I've got nothing to lose. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead. So I was thinking it would be very interesting if I could pray like Premarupa Madhavi was saying, the magical transformation. I'm praying at the lotus feet of Krishna, Shri Shri Radha Madhava, that may that magical transformation happen in my heart. By the way, the Hiranyakashipu is inside me, inside us. It's not some external obstacle. It's often an internal obstacle in our cases. So if I could magically transform that trauma, we've all gone through some trauma in our childhood, maybe, and we will go through more traumas. So this is like a part of human existence. So trauma will happen. But there are two ways. Most of the time when trauma happens, we withdraw. We withdraw and become sad, become depressed. Another way of responding is like how Prahlad did. He's like, what the heck, whatever, I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and do more of it. I mean, absolutely, like Kritika is saying, couldn't resist and the determination is there, you know, the focus is so strong, all that. But at the same time, on a psychological level, sometimes we also go through it. I don't care anymore what this person does. I'm going to continue this and I'll continue with even more vigor. And actually, I kind of did it, but more Rajas Guna, not Sattva Guna. With my mom, I would just say, I don't care if you don't buy me the dress. So I still remember taking my blue jeans and getting it dyed into black. So the next year, I would just wear that black jeans, looking like it's a new pants. So I remember because she didn't want to buy me new clothes because I was going to programs and she wasn't happy with that. So that's like a Rajas Guna response. What if people in our family stop us from performing Krishna consciousness? And talking about stopping, rejecting, there are so many examples in the Shastra where whether it was Bali Maharaj who rejected Shukracharya's advice, or whether it was Prahlad rejecting his father. There's so many examples where we can see Sati rejecting Daksha. So many examples where even the devotee, another devotee, we may have to reject. We may have to draw boundaries. That's what I'm trying to say. So one thing is, oh, Hiranyakashipu. One thing is somebody says, don't chant. See, nobody can stop us from devotional service. Nobody can stop us from chanting. We were in like Iran and places like that where devotional service is not allowed. But there are people, nobody can stop us from chanting Hare Krishna or keeping a small picture of Krishna in the wardrobe hiding. I've seen devotees do that. So the enemy is within, and that enemy needs to be dealt very carefully. And through prayer, the magic can happen through forgiveness, through gratitude, sometimes through walking away from the situation, sometimes sometimes through silence, even that Prahlad did. He was obedient child. He would answer everything they would ask, but silence in the sense he would do what he needed to do without reacting. No reaction. Slowly just mind your own business. That's like one of my mantras. Mind your own business, Sri Radha Govinda. Don't worry about other people's lessons. Don't worry about other people's behavior. Mind your own business. Okay, so I'm going to pause here. Oh, yeah, Ashka is here. I wanted to bring up that point about unfulfilled desires. Is Aishwarya here also? No, she's not here. Okay. So Ashka, yesterday she asked the question, and Aishwarya also asked about what do we do with unfulfilled desires, was Aishwarya's question, right? And also Ashka asked, what if I want to have the faith, but all my unmet needs and unmet desires get in the way? So Ashka, I recommend that you go back to the beginning of the class and listen to the beginning, because that sets the foundation
Okay, ma'am.
answer.
Okay.
But in conclusion, it would be there is something that we need to work on and become qualified in order for us to become deserving of that particular need that we have. And that's one part of the answer. The second part of the answer is Krishna can meet all our needs and desires. Krishna can meet all our desires and needs. So that, but at the same time, we are powerless. There is nothing I can do on a control level. What I can do is through surrender. Like Prema Rupa Madhavi was saying earlier, Krishna, I have this need, it's not being met. There must be something, like, I'm an astrologer and I constantly see in my chart and my friends and my family chart, sometimes people don't get what they need. Some basic things about marriage, maybe kids, maybe money, maybe job, maybe freedom to perform devotional service. Sometimes we don't get it, even though it's a need. It's a basic need, really essential for our growth and essential for our peace. It's not coming through. So when I look at astrological charts, I see that like I read somebody a couple of days ago, and this person was very rich and they had so many relationships, but they took it really for granted. So in this life, they're really struggling because they have to cultivate value towards that money. They have to cultivate value towards relationships. So Krishna is a father. Like I said, he accepts us as we are, but he loves us too much to let us remain who we are. He wants to help us to overcome those blocks and arrogance and pride. Why was Karna in that situation? Ashka, if you listen to the beginning of the class, I spoke about Karna. That was answer to your question as well.
Okay, ma'am.
Karna had unfulfilled needs. And what did he do? He took the wrong path to try to fulfill that need. So I'm actually going to pause the recording and show a video, because if I record it, it won't allow me to upload this on the YouTube. So does it answer your question, Ashka?
Yes, Mataji, understand.
Okay,
Similar.
three levels, okay? Three levels of reality. One is Krishna is doing a favor upon us because he's making us into better people so we can qualify to receive it. And then he has a plan. And then on the other level, the Karna point, acceptance, accepting that, okay, this is where I am and I have this without denial, acceptance without denial, accepting that I have this need, I have this, and then how to work towards it. And then the prayer and asking forgiveness and understanding the karmic dynamic. So I'm going to pause here again. See that episode, it's not just an episode, actually, it's different episodes put together. So this shows so many elements here. First element is that Karna really like was bitter and resentful, and he was always constantly needing to prove his sense of worth. And you can see he's super powerful, super capable. But you can see Bhishma is unhappy with him. The real like good ones are unhappy with him. And his own brothers he stood against. So his life was really tragic. And one of the things that we can see in Karna is his inability to accept that things will need to be the way it is destined to be. He constantly tried to keep proving his sense of self-worth. And our sense of self-worth does not depend on how other people treat us. It does not depend on what society thinks. Because even if Karna tried his best, still people didn't really accept him. He was always constantly in that position. Why? Because there was a lesson there for him to learn. But he, of course, misguided by his loyalty, he took many wrong decisions. And even in this scene, we see that the arrow, one of the arrows that Karna left, it was like a trickery. He was not supposed to just use the arrow. Anyway, I don't want to get into Mahabharata now then, because that'll go on for another hour. So I think Mataji, Rajmanjari Mataji, which one are the qualities of Kshatriya? Can you ask me the question, please?
So you are mentioning how he wanted to prove himself, he wanted to prove his worth, he wanted to show that he was a great warrior, he had capacity to even defeat Arjuna. He was at the level of Arjuna. And so, because those qualities were never recognized, because he was a Sutaputra, he was not, considered equal to a Kshatriya. So he was kept out of so many competitions and rivalry. Even to, win Draupadi as a suitor, he was not allowed because he was not a Kshatriya or a Brahmin. So, on one side, we understand that he should have lived a life of dharma, but on the other side, don't we give him some benefit there that after all he was a Kshatriya and his blood was that of a Kshatriya, so all those qualities that he had were just him doing his real dharma, right? How do we understand that?
Okay, I mean, okay, the nature that you want to try to do, but then the context with which he did was completely wrong. The context was Duryodhana. The context was Duryodhana's vision. That's no Kshatriya. You know what I mean? A true Kshatriya would not surrender to a king like Duryodhana. Why would he? So that was not so Kshatriya of him. And then what Kshatriya will say, disrobe Draupadi? That's Kshatriya of him. So the point is that that's the thing, no? I've been talking in the beginning as well. What is my justification? Hiranyakashipu's justification is Vishnu is supposed to be impartial, but he killed Hiranyaksha, who was such a good brother. That's his justification for his enmity. So Karna's, what is his justification? I wanted validation. I wanted somebody to accept me. That's not Kshatriya. A Kshatriya, no, khud ke dam pe, right? The Kshatriya may say, I'm going to keep to my values. I'm not going to surrender to Duryodhana's values. This is very crucial thing for us, all of us, to understand. Because sometimes we may have senior people around us whose ideas of philosophy may be misplaced. Maybe sometimes they're too fanatic. And sometimes they maybe have very limited understanding of things. And how we dedicate, if we keep going in a direction where our super soul, our value system is against, there are in our history of our movement, there have been situations like that. The person would say, no, life for Krishna, it's okay. Life for Krishna, do it for me. I'm your authority. There have been a lot of misuse of power. So we can learn looking at Karna that don't do 50-50. Don't try to, what is it called? There's a saying in recovery also. If we give our heart 50% to dharma, it won't work. That's what Karna did. 50%. I am very loyal. I'm very dharmic. I'll keep to my promises. I'll be grateful to Duryodhan, right? It's a 50%, but then it ruined him. It ruined him, and it ruined Duryodhan, and it ruined the whole dynasty. So the power of our desires are very strong. Let's say I have a desire. Say I'm unmarried. I mean, an unmarried girl has desire. Youth, the energy of sexual energy is the most powerful that runs the whole universe. And then that desire, and let's say she's not getting married, but she really wants to, experience physical intimacy or whatever. But something is still blocking. For some reason, she needs to value commitment more. She needs to value what a qualified man means, and there are some lessons there. But she's impatient. She's feeling stuck. You know what that energy can do, right? She go and ruin her reputation by getting into a relationship without marriage. She could go and approach a married man and ruin the marriage of the man and destroy their family. She could do so many things that energy could do. So the point here is, okay, I may have a nature to want to try to prove my worth. That's okay. But who am I trying to prove it to? Am I trying to prove it to Guru and Krishna? Like the other day, I was having a conversation with a friend, and I told her, I'm shifting towards trying to prove my sense of self-worth to any random public. I want to prove to my guru, my close friends, that I'm sincere, I'm authentic, I'm honest by being those things. See, there's a difference. One thing is to try to prove something we're not, or try to prove something that we doubt. See, the whole topic yesterday, today, and tomorrow will be the faith thing. When we don't have faith in ourselves, the girl doesn't have faith that I will get married, I'll have a good husband who will take care of me, or the whoever, right? If there is no faith in the Supreme Lord's plan, we can become frustrated. Karna did not have that faith. He took things in his own hands. So he wanted to fix it himself. Duryodhan took the thing in his own hands, law in his own hands, and he wanted to fix the situation. He wanted to get the thrones by hook or crook. Karna, similar thing. So the point is, it's okay to have desires. It's okay to have that nature, but place the right people to try to prove to, right? Like if I think, what will my Guru Maharaj think if he comes to know about me, this, that's worth it. If I think what my Shiksha Guru or whoever, maybe how do you say, a good association person, if I put that person's opinion about me, it's worth it. But if I put my opinion to any Tom, Dick, and Harry on the street, that is not. So Karna was not clear. He was not clear who he is trying to show to. Who? And he ended up trying to show to Duryodhan. So we have to learn a lot about misplaced loyalty.
So for us in our small mundane lives, I like to think that, there is no such thing as a bad human being, but a good devotee. Correct?
Correct. Yeah, the bad is like Bhagavatam says, we should discriminate Gunadama, Tanukroshan, Gunadikan, Mudam Lipset. We should see who is more qualified than me, who has better qualities than me, who is demonstrating those divine qualities of the 16th chapter of Gita. We need to look at those things, right? And act accordingly, but also understand that the wickedness or the evilness or the negativity is like a disease. We are in a hospital. Prabhupada said we are in a hospital. People will be sick. And so we cannot complain that, oh, why this person is not perfect. We look at our side of the street. We look within and see, why is this triggering me? What is it that I need to work on? And you will see magically, if it's in a family, if I work on myself, the other person will also develop and grow. That's how it works, because it's all connections, right?
Hmm. Hmm. I think it's only until we get to that point that all of these challenges come. When we get to the point where we live to focus on ourselves, all of these challenges don't exist anymore.
That's so true. Thank you. Yeah. So it's every day, it's a war. And
Yeah.
every day, if we could just look at our intentions, look at the motivation, pray asking the Lord. Mm, Pray, like Premarupa said, pray to the Lord. I'm sorry for whatever it is that I've done, that this suffering is coming upon me. I'm willing to learn the lessons, Krishna. Give me the strength to do your will. Mm. I have
Yeah.
these needs, Krishna. I have this fear, Krishna. I have this guilt, Krishna. I have this shame, Krishna. We approach Krishna with the emotional intensity of whatever the emotion is. Remember, whether it's love or fear, keep the Lord always near, because then only we will actually be purified. If I go away from the Lord, whatever amount of devotional service I do, if I don't come close to the Lord with emotions, it's not going to work. We can take lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of great sadhana. Nothing is going to happen.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to ask a question.